Uhel Barrickman.
Welcome to another Glasgow Wants to Know. My guest tonight is Stewart, who works for Gray Construction, but she is also the president of the Glasgow Barren County Chamber of Commerce, and that's the subject that we're going to discuss tonight. And what is the purpose of the Chamber of Commerce?
The Chamber of Commerce allows a group of people throughout the community, just a combination of people, to work together to make things better for the commerce in the community, business community as well as the private community.
I think that's from what I understand, I think that's the purpose of it.
You know, the beauty of the Chamber of Commerce is the diversity of the people and what they can do by working together toward a common goal.
No doubt about that. Now then, how is it formed? What's the government? How you get people in it, and how are they elected, and so forth?
Okay. Presently, we have 4 full-time staff members. We have the executive director, who is Bill Dearman, the bookkeeper, who is Gail Meek. Then we have a receptionist, Carla Bell, and then we have a special events person, Jan Peden. And the Chamber of Commerce is governed by a board of directors who are elected by the membership. We currently have 725 members. In fact, over the last 5 years, we've grown about 38% in our membership. So we have 725 members who get the opportunity to vote from a slate of officers or slate of names that a nominating committee provides to the membership. And members rotate off. They serve a 3-year term and rotate off. Every year, 6 will rotate off and 6 will be added to it. Then we have 1 member at large, and then we have some ex officio members who serve in other capacities, such as a legal advisor. And Ernie Myers with the IDEA serves on our board of directors. There's an executive committee made up of the past president, and then the president, secretary, executive vice president, and president-elect, and also a legal representative on that committee, and it meets once a month. It meets prior to the regular scheduled board meetings, which are once a month, the second Thursday of each month at 7 a.m.
Now, the directors, are they representing the chamber as a whole, or do they represent and elected by a group?
They represent the chamber as a whole. The whole membership receives a ballot, and they choose who they want to serve them for the coming year.
But how are they nominated? Are they
the board of directors establishes a nominating committee who's usually made up most of the time 3 to 4 people. I don't remember exactly who makes up the committee. And they look over the roster and they choose people that they think would be good chamber members. And typically it's people that have volunteered in the past, served on committees, and have taken a very active interest in the Chamber of Commerce and its activities.
I'll rephrase my question. You, for instance, represent a group of businesses or professions, if I understand correctly, and then you've got another director that, you see where I'm coming from?
No longer. That
no
used
longer?
to be that way, but that has been changed.
When was that changed?
I don't recall exactly. I've been active in the chamber since 1993, maybe 1996 or 7. They used to categorize people by certain...
Yes.
But that no longer exists.
I did not know that, even though I'm a member. I did not know that. You have I guess, I don't know what you all call it for sure, but you have what I call a retreat.
Yes, we do. Once a year, usually in the fall.
Now, where is that usually held? How long does it last? What's its purpose?
Okay, it's a 2-day retreat. It has been held at a number of places. Most often it's held at Barren River State Park because it is convenient and it's local, and we like that the service that's provided down there. We have gone to Dale Hollow State Park when that park was new, and this past year we went to Louisville, particularly to talk to them about growth and development, because their county city government had just merged, and we had some friends up there that were really promoting economic development, and we had invited some of them to come in and speak to the group. And it's a planning retreat. We discuss All board members are invited, and then the committee chairs are invited, and we talk about what the chamber needs to be working on, what projects the chamber needs to take on or to express interest in, or to provide a catalyst of information about serve as a catalyst of information to the community. And we have a moderator, and the moderator just kind of get your mind spinning, just get you thinking about things that we typically wouldn't think about, and maybe things that we have thought about for years and years and years, but just haven't been able to do anything about.
The moderator come from the board?
No, the moderator is usually an outside person invited in.
How many committees do you have?
We have, I don't know for sure. I want to say 15, but I'm not sure that's right. I can name them, but I haven't counted them.
Suppose you name them.
Okay. We have an education committee.
Now, what does it do?
Okay, education committee is made up, it's chaired by Steve Newberry this year, and it explores issues of education. For instance, we had Dr. Tennant come in and talk to us about the physical needs of the Glasgow City school system, Glasgow Independent School System. They are preparing a white paper about city-county school consolidation. Not to say that that's what we want, what we need, but at every retreat for the past, I would say 10, maybe 15 years, that subject has come up. And that's based on information received from educators, because we have educators on the board of directors, people interested in the growth and development of the school systems to make them the best for county and city students. But they're currently undergoing just studying the pros and cons or what the options are. Not to say that we're going to say, yeah, we need to do this, because we're not going to do that. We're not in a position to do that. Then we have the Business Development Committee.
Let's wait a minute. What's the white paper you said?
It's a neutral paper. It's just, it will be like a discovery paper. It won't be out, and I don't know how it would be published. I don't know how it will be shared. It just may be a public forum. Okay, we studied this topic, and this is what we discovered. Of course, we can't make that decision, and we don't want to make that decision. It's not our position to do so, but we are just serving as a catalyst for discussion. And we've had some real good discussion during those committee meetings.
I don't doubt that. You also had some controversy.
There has been some controversy, sure. Any type of change is controversial.
True.
But and we're not taking sides. We're not saying this or that. It's just studying the issue. I can remember when I was in the leadership class in 1991, and we talked about 911. Well, there were pros and cons to having 911 versus just an enhanced 911. But it came to be, and now it's fine, and everything's good about it. And there's a lot of issues that have come up like that throughout the years, and it may take 25 to 30 years before any action is taken on them, but if you're not educated about the topics being discussed, you can't make a wise decision.
I'm not arguing
okay,
with you.
I know you're not, but you get me going.
I'm not arguing with you.
But I feel like with the diversity of the board, we are in a fine position to serve as a catalyst for a lot of issues. A clearinghouse of sorts to get things out on the table.
We'll talk about some more here shortly. Now your development committee.
We have Business Development Committee, which was previously called the Small Business Development Committee, but that just didn't suit the title, because it needs to be business development overall, any size business. And then that is being chaired by John Walbert of Walbert Trucking. And so far this year, we've had one retreat, which was, business seminar related to customer service. And Dr. Aaron Huey came up from the Carol Nicely Institute of Economic Development and provided that, and it was open to any chamber member that wanted to come. It was a luncheon session, lasted about an hour and 15 minutes. And very, very, very good, very helpful to particularly small businesses or service-related businesses, retail sales. We had probably more retail sales people represented than anybody. And then we have, through the business, okay.
Well, you about to mention another committee, or are you going?
No, I'm going to tell you some more
I'm sorry.
Okay. Business Development, Rick Horn, who also comes from Western's Economic Development Center, is at the chamber once a month. He's the small business development representative from Western, and he meets with people, counsels with people the second Thursday of every month who are interested in starting their businesses, giving them information about startup practices and funding and that type of thing. And he tells me that 40% of his clients in South Central Kentucky are in Glasgow that are expressing an interest in making progress toward opening their own businesses.
Good luck to them.
I agree.
The more we have, the better. Although we have some come and go, but that's normal too.
That's normal. Mm-hmm.
What does that committee, you talk about discussing small businesses and how to establish them and things of that nature, what does it do and what effect has it had insofar as customer relations are concerned? And by that I'm asking about people who work in retail stores and so forth, and services to customers and the way they treat customers and so forth.
Well,
Do
but
you do anything
provided
about that?
we don't. No, we always we have. That committee also has business roundtables where store managers or plant managers or different people get together. The committee itself decides what group is going to get together this week or this month and talk about issues related, hiring practices, any kind of employment practices. Hiring and retention is a big topic. Health insurance is a big topic. And they share among themselves, similar to a human resources group, where you share among yourselves practices that work for you. And perhaps another business can learn from what you've done and make it work for them too, or adapt what you hear about and make it work for you. Does that answer that question?
That answers the question. It doesn't necessarily meet what I consider to be some needs, and that is the contact and the play between the customer and the sales representative.
Okay, I'm
and
not
as
real
far
clear.
as courtesy and so forth is
Well, now,
concerned.
for instance, a seminar that we just had on customer service, that was focused on treating the customer right. The customer's always right, more or less.
But they aren't as
Who to have on the front line, and who, traits to look for in people that can deal with people and explain things and satisfy the customer to their best, the best they can.
That's what
I mean, things will be
that's
provided
what
like that throughout the year for different businesses, different issues for different types of business. And we just started out with customer service. Now, customer service is a big topic too. And we couldn't cover a lot in an hour and 15 minutes, but they did talk about like the customer's first contact with you and their perception of you in serving them.
Well, as a result of these roundtables and so forth, do any of the managers that have attended these sessions turn around and have sessions with their employees about what to do and how to treat the customer?
Yes. I can't tell you exactly who. Bill Booker, I'm sure, has. He's the kind of the instigator of the roundtable discussions. He's been a big promoter of this committee, and of course he is a small business owner. So he has really puts forth a lot of effort to get topics that are timely and important out to the retail commercial businesses. But the thing is, you've got to get people involved. You've got to let them know what you're doing and make sure that they realize that a need might be met by participating in some of the chamber activities.
I realize that, but I'm wondering what carryover there's been by the people who realize it insofar as their individual businesses are concerned.
Now,
I realize you really...
Right. I really don't know that, but I would...
The only thing you might know, and I thought that you might know, is how many participants in these roundtables then had their own sessions in their own business on the subject.
No, I do not know the answer to that.
Your next committee.
Okay. Next committee would be the Ambassadors Club, and that's a group of volunteers, chamber members, volunteers who are the greeters of the community. When we have ribbon cuttings, they host events and they make contact with members. They are known because they wear the royal blue jackets. There is a membership fee of $50 a year, and then you have to purchase your jacket. And they host business after hours, ribbon cuttings, the quarterly breakfast. Most any chamber-related events, you'll see a group of people in the blue coats, and they're the chamber ambassadors. They're under the direction this year of Tommy Jackson. At the Highland Games, they'll be volunteering, selling tickets, and helping out in whatever way they need. They're a busy group of people, and there's about 45 of them. So there's always a group of them that can make every event, and that way we don't have to be dependent if somebody can't make it, because we have, there's so many of them. And that group has grown tremendously the past 2 years. And like I said, anyone can join. And they meet once a month, and they have a calendar of events. They know what's coming up. They're notified when ribbon cuttings and different events are scheduled, and the chamber does all the scheduling.
Your next committee.
Let's talk about there's a lot of environmental awareness. It's chaired by Jeannie Scalise. She, of course, is a city council person, and her focus with city council is environmental issues. There's a lot going on in that committee right now. They just completed the city-county trash pickup, where they had stations in all the communities surrounding Glasgow. That was in May, or early May, and you could throw away anything. And then they had special drop-off for tires, and that's annually, and it's probably been done for about 5 years. It's been very productive as far as she can give you statistics about the volumes and tons of trash and recyclables that were picked up. In this year's leadership class, we've got a group that is exploring, and I don't know what they're going to finally call it, but similar to Operation Pride in Bowling Green, or some kind of a city-county beautification program to get it started and to seek funding through grants and that type of thing, to focus on certain areas like planting flowers here or cleaning up this certain area. And that's being developed as we speak. But that was, like I said, one of the projects of this year's leadership class.
What effort, if any, by that committee is made to find these illegal dumps?
Well, they have asked each committee member to, as they drive around town to and from work, wherever they may be going, just to make notes of sites or of course, what you see may be offensive to you, but may not be offensive to me. But they're going to put together a list of sites that need to be addressed. Of course, the city government will be involved in some ways, a little bit, because the city inspector has some obligation or right to enforce people to clean up lots. For instance, mowing is an example. Unmowed lots or abandoned buildings that are just falling down and are health hazards. But there's many issues like that throughout the community, and the Environmental Awareness Committee is working just to draw attention to them to improve the way the community looks.
Does the committee have any project to press the city to do something about these buildings that you're talking about that need to come down and are a hazard health-wise and otherwise?
That's some of those issues that have a lot of discussion going on. Now, I can't say that I don't know. I really don't know.
You don't know whether the environmental committee has addressed that?
They have addressed it, but as far as taking any action or trying to coerce someone to take action against some of those issues, I mean, there are several in town. There are several in town, and I cannot speak knowledgeably about which ones are being given high priority and which ones are not. As sure as I say one thing, it'd be something else. And and the committee itself has no enforcement regulations.
No, I understand that. The only thing they can do is
recommend.
Is recommend and also pressure.
I expect that in years past, when the issues have been identified over and over and over again, the chamber or that committee will prepare a letter addressed to whoever has the authority to do something about it, and ask, or go before the city council or the magistrates, whichever is most appropriate, or whichever is appropriate, just to cause them attention to certain issues like that.
I think there are several buildings, and I probably shouldn't say this, but I think there are several buildings in Glasgow that could be declared a nuisance.
I totally agree with you.
Legal nuisance, and then once that happened, you've got power and authority to do something about it.
That's right. And the Renaissance Committee is addressing some of those issues too. There's a lot of overlap between the committees set up within the Renaissance program and the Chamber of Commerce committees. The Environmental Committee is one that's shared between the two. There are about 3 committees, I think, and right now I couldn't tell you. I can't even think of another committee at this point. I'm just kind of on the spot. But there are some sharing of information among the committees in that program. But that is one high topic or one big topic of the Renaissance Committee, is addressing those issues, those blights, so to speak, of the city.
They're not all confined to the city.
No.
They're out in the county also.
They're out in the county too. Of course, the Renaissance area is limited to 52 blocks of the city, so they're not going to get the county issues.
Yeah, I understand that.
But we have members serving on the committee that live in the county, and we have representation. It is the Glasgow Barren County Chamber of Commerce, so we try to have representation of all parts of the county.
Well, let's talk a little more before we go to another committee about the Renaissance. Just what do you mean by the, and what does the mayor and the papers mean when they talk about Renaissance?
I can tell you what I know, and it probably won't be exactly right, because I've attended some of the public hearings, and of course we have some contact with them. But the Renaissance program is funded through the Kentucky League of Cities out of Lexington, and it's a funding mechanism to improve and I guess preserve cities, historic districts, downtown areas. And there's a task force which is chaired by Benny Dickinson, who's in charge of this. And I don't know how it all came about. I wasn't involved at all in the early stages, but it's a program that, and we're a silver city, so we qualify for up to $1 million in funding to improve the area. And it's in the paper all the time about what's going on. That they tried to write the grant, you had to identify a project that you wanted to pursue. And the city chose to pursue the Plaza Theater, the renovation of the Plaza Theater, and to preserve it and restore it to its original beauty, of which many of us remember. And the persons that own that turned them down. They did not want to sell it. So then, in order to meet the grant application, they chose the Liberty Street School, which is another historic building in our city. And they're pursuing the Liberty Street School project. That's not to say they've forgotten the Plaza Theater project, because they haven't. And everybody still wants to see that. In a public survey, that was determined the most interest to the people of Glasgow. But if the people are unwilling to sell it, and everybody has a budget, and the Renaissance project has a budget too, they had to pursue another one, which is the Liberty Street School, and that's the one they're working on right now. They're hoping that the Recreation Department will occupy the middle building, the gymnasiums, and move their offices there. The building, the old elementary school building on the left, if you look straight on at the school, will be a community building. I don't know what all that will involve, but community meetings can be held there and activities take place, senior citizens activities and that type of thing. And then they're planning on the high school building to be transformed into a residential living unit for older people, which has happened to a lot of high schools across the state. And that would be developed by a private developer.
How was the Renaissance area selected?
The task force selected the area.
What
and I cannot tell, the task force is chaired by Benny Dickinson, which is made up of citizens of Glasgow and Barren County.
It's not a, excuse me, it's not a part of the chamber.
It is not a part of the chamber. We are working along, it's a city project, and we are working along with the city to develop that project. But the chamber has it's not a chamber project.
Now let's talk about another committee.
Okay, let's talk about the annual meeting committee. Is being chaired by Betty Gentry and Betty Alexander. The chamber's annual meeting is held in February of each year. And it's where one president goes out and the new president's sworn in, and then the new directors are sworn in at the same time. We always have a guest speaker come in. Sometimes it's a humorist, sometimes it's someone serious. This past year was Terry Wilcutt, and he showed a video clip of his space flight. Very interesting, very different, and very, very interesting, very entertaining. And we have about 500 people that attend the banquet, and it's always held at Cave City Convention Center. That committee has already met once, and they're beginning to talk about themes for the banquet and speakers for the banquet, because we have to get that lined out pretty soon. And once they check with the speaker, then we'll know the date of the banquet, and that will be publicized. We have a golf committee, which is we have a golf tournament in May of each year. That is the chamber's biggest fundraiser. It's always held on the first Friday in May. And we just completed that. I have not heard the financial results of it. We had 128 players, and it took place at Barren River State Park. And it's open to anybody that wants to play. There's a fee you have to pay to play. And we have whole sponsors, and people donate prizes and that type of thing. That's the chamber's actually only event that's sponsored strictly for fundraising. Because only non-dues income, I refer to it that way, because our money comes from dues income. And that's our only event that provides a substantial source of non-dues income. Then we have an industry appreciation committee, and that committee, it's probably got 20, 25 people on it. And they sponsor an industry appreciation week in September. And this year, I believe it's the 7th through the 14th, or the 14th through the 21st. I don't recall without looking at the calendar. But there'll be a breakfast that first Friday in September, and then the following Friday will be an industry appreciation golf tournament, and we invite representatives from local industry to play golf for a day of golf, and they have food and prizes, and for that we have sponsors, and that's a good event. That's a good networking event for them, and the ambassadors host it, and it's just a good day. Both the golf tournaments are very successful.
Do you have a similar program for farmers?
No, we do not. We have an agribusiness committee. Program as far as golf, no. We have an
I'm talking about honoring and pointing out to the public the good things about the farm industry.
We do that in August. The agribusiness committee is being chaired by Owen Lambert, and we have a farm city tour every year. We also honor a farmer of the year at the annual banquet. And the farm city tour this year, there's a lot of ideas being tossed around about what to do, but the ones I've been on, I mean, I've only been on 2 of them, but the first one I went on was at Temple Hill Fairgrounds, and you board buses and they took you to different operations, and one of them was the chicken producing barns, I don't know what they're called, but where they raise chickens for resale. We went to Mattingly's Cheese Farm, and then we went to I can't think of Ricky Houchins' dairy farm. And Laura, I mean, I don't know anything about farming because I've never lived on a farm, but it was very informative, very educational. And then Houchins provides lunch for you when you get back. And particularly at the Temple Hill Fairgrounds, they had old farming equipment set up and they had displays set up. This year, we're going to try to go south of town, down 31E in that direction, and we hope to be able to visit a Mennonite farm. And there's another new kind of dairy farming that's going on, or beef farming that's going on that we hope to visit. And all that's in plans right now, working it out. So,
how much are the workings of these committees, for instance, that publicized?
Probably.
In other words, do the county and the people of the county as a whole, do they realize what's going on there and what you all are doing?
I do not know. I cannot answer that. We have contacts in all the rural communities. We have members of the committee, like Jerry Greer. There's several agriculture-related people, and I would hope that they would share that information with the farmers. We do not get a lot of participation from that industry, the agribusiness industry. I mean, they're struggling to keep their heads above water, and we put together statistics, factual information about the impact that agribusiness has on Barren County, and Owen is getting new information now that we distribute to people that call about relocating or coming to Glasgow and Barren County. But in answer to your question, they probably don't know all the Chamber does for them, or attempts to do for them.
Now, whose fault is that? Is that the Chamber's fault, or is that the farmer's fault? Whose fault is that?
It's shared. It's shared.
Well, are there any plans or any ideas about how to cure that?
The only way you can cure it is to get people involved, to encourage their involvement. And the way I see it, most of the farmers aren't as accessible as, say, people that work in town. I'm talking about attending meetings and doing things like that. You can call them and ask them for information and ask them for input, ask them how we can help them, and they will give you ideas. And that happens. I mean, there is contact made. But as far as having them physically present in meetings, and I'm not putting them down. I'm going to put my foot in my mouth.
I know you're not.
Because we do have representation, but it's just not as prevalent as among, and I don't even like to talk about city people and farm people or rural people and city people, because we're one and the same. You know, we all live in Barren County.
Yes, but there are differences, and there are differences that should be addressed.
That's very true.
And I'm not.
And I would say that
I'm merely inquiring as whether or not the Chamber is addressing these things.
We may not be addressing them the way we need to. I mean, and that's something that committee will toss around and try to come up with better ways of doing so.
Do you have any meetings of the Chamber out in the county other than the yearly meeting at the convention center?
No, not. We haven't in my year of being president, and I don't know about years before me. but not that I'm aware of. I've never served on that committee, so I don't know what activities have taken place in that committee prior to me assuming the presidency. But that's a very good point and something that we ought to talk about. You know, it's real easy just to get so used to doing something a certain way that then you forget about other things that need to be addressed. And we do have a program going on this year where each board member draws 3 names at every board meeting, and they're supposed to call chamber members, whoever they draw out of this little hat or little basket, just to let the chamber members know that, you know, I'm serving on your board of directors, and if you've got any questions, or, you know, we welcome your membership, welcome your participation, but to encourage some member contact with the board of directors. Because once the board of directors are elected and they meet once a month, typically you see members, but you usually see the same members. You don't reach out. And that was one of the programs I hope to get started and continue, was that our board members will let people know who are members of the chamber that, you know, we're here and we're a great opportunity. You know, you're buying our services, which is just, it's all volunteer, but it's an opportunity to be involved and find out what's going on in the community.
Let's go back to this business of drawing 3 names out of a hat to call people and out in the county or in the city and let them know what's going on or whether they have any questions.
Mm-hmm.
Why do that rather than contacting people? Let me back up a minute. I want to be clear. You know, and I know there are people in the community that are into more things and have more influence than others. When you draw names out of a hat, you're not necessarily contacting the people that could help the chamber and help the county and help the city the most.
But you're drawing names of chamber members.
I understand that,
And
but there's a difference in talents and abilities of chamber members insofar as expressing themselves, publicizing things, and so forth. I think you'll have to agree that that is true.
That's true, but I also know that some chamber members, they join, they sign up. Let's say, use a retail store, for example. The manager signs up, so his name is on that list, and he may not know that he can send a representative. He can have someone from his business represent his business in chamber activities, on committees, for example. He may be too busy. He is the name member, but he can send someone. And we're trying to get more members involved. And we have a number of members who I feel like, and this is my opinion, but we have a lot of members that join because it seems the right thing to do, but they're missing out on the benefits of being part of the chamber, which is the involvement and knowing people and learning about how what I do affects what somebody else does and how we can help one another.
I think you put your finger on a very good problem as far as the Chamber of Commerce is concerned. You're not getting the message out.
Well, that's the way this program's set up about drawing the names. That's the intent of it, is to encourage people and to share ways for them to be involved, to talk to them about things that they can host or things that they can attend, but just to get them involved. And that's how we've gotten many of our ambassador members. That committee's probably grown more than any of them. Is that people want a connection. And they're investing in the chamber, so they need to reap on that investment that they're making.
I'm not questioning the purpose of drawing the names. What I'm questioning is whether or not there aren't people in the organization, if you all would designate them, that could do a better job of finding out what the retail man needs, whether he's attending these meetings. They could do a better job of contacting farmers in various places in the county and so forth. And I suspect, I don't know, and I'm not criticizing necessarily the drawing of names out of a hat, but I suspect that you don't get a whole lot of information out that way because you don't necessarily have the person that's best qualified to do it.
That's probably true. But what we've started is better than not contacting
Well,
at all.
I agree with you there.
We're starting, and like I said, I hope this could be continued and developed. And
I'm not. I hope you don't think I'm being critical.
Oh no, I don't. But I see what you mean too, because we're still going to miss people. we're going to overlook some people that could be vital to the growth and development of the community if they just had a way or an opportunity to share what they need.
That's true, and the more they share, the more interest they're going to have
Exactly.
on what's going on. Incidentally, you mentioned something a while ago that you hear a lot of questions about. You have your annual convention in February.
Right.
You announce new officers. When do they take effect?
They actually take effect in January. Now, don't ask me why, because I've questioned the same thing.
Public doesn't understand that.
Well,
can
I
assure
don't
you.
understand that. And I don't know if it's the way it's written in the bylaws, but that's something that the annual meeting committee, we had a discussion about that just this recently, is addressing. It's like, because when the chamber year rolls around, it's a calendar year now. It did not used to be a calendar year, and that's probably where that February meeting came from. Calendar year, January to December 31st. But as of January 1st, I became serving as president, although I was not officially installed until mid-February. But, that's kind of a minor detail in one sense. I don't know.
Well, I agree that it's a minor detail, but again, the public asks a lot of questions about that. And some people think it's comical.
Well, it appears that way.
They think
I mean,
now you entered another field here that, excuse me, got a frog in my throat. You entered another field there a moment ago, and that's bylaws. Bylaws can be amended.
exactly.
Do you have a committee that addresses that?
The executive committee addresses that. If a need arises or is recognized as something that needs to be checked into.
Have you amended any bylaws or anything recently as far as you know?
Not during my term as president. I don't recall any last year, but we have amended the bylaws from time to time. But I cannot give you specifics about them.
Now you got another committee or two we can talk about?
Okay, we have, let's see, annual meeting, Mr. Appreciation. We have them broken down by divisions. We have well, help me out here, ask me something. I can't think of what all the committees are. Infrastructure Committee, which is chaired by Ben Quinn. And that committee has not had a meeting yet, although Ben came and addressed the board. Let me back up a minute. At our retreat, we identified, after much discussion, 10 issues, not necessarily chamber issues, but 10 issues that are facing Glasgow Barren County right now. One of them was a sewer line to Barren River State Park, the expansion of Highway 90 East. Another was the outer loop around Glasgow. Of course, American Engineers is involved in the planning and the construction of the outer loop around Glasgow. So we invited Ben, and at each board member this year we've had someone come in and talk about the projects that were identified. One was the need for a new library facility, which was identified by the Renaissance Committee. So we've had Kristen Bell and Jim Hyatt came to one meeting and told us about the library, why it's determined to be inadequate for our population, and options and things that going on within the library group. And then we had Ben Quinn came and he talked to us about the outer loop around Glasgow, about the property acquisition and what the status of it was. He couldn't give us any specific dates because they haven't acquired all the property yet, but just told us the route that it was going to take. And the reason we're having people come in and talk about those topics is that we need to know. So if we're asked, we can at least speak intelligently about issues facing our community. And a lot of those are related to some of the activities that the committees are taking on. A lot of those are related to other things. It's all related, when you're talking about Glasgow Barren County, one thing is important to something else. And I guess through the committees, you really see that because so many things overlap. Now, getting it all work together like clockwork is a challenge sometimes. But at every board meeting, we're having something addressed, something talked about that's already, it may already be underway, it may be something that's in the planning stages, but it provides us an opportunity to ask questions about it. And
How often does the board meet?
it meets once a month, the second Thursday of every month at 7 a.m. at the chamber office. And they are open meetings.
And that raises another good question on how many people attend other than the board of directors.
It depends. Anyone can attend.
I understand that. My question is, what is your attendance?
Well, the attendance right now is like 95% of board members. We have excellent attendance. In fact, since we moved into the new facility at New Farmers National Bank, attendance at meetings has just increased unbelievably so. I'd say at all the committee meetings, we average 92, 93% of committee members attending. Now, back to the board meetings, we have had, there's a group, and there was an article in Sunday's paper about this group of people that are wanting to organize a newcomers club. So they called me just to see, you know, I don't know how to organize a club, but I asked them to come and talk. They were looking for startup funds, was one of the things they were concerned about. They were trying to determine if there was a need for a club like that. There used to be a real strong newcomers club here. So Miss Marlene Harker's wife, and I can't think of the lady's name. She lived here and she moved away. Anyway, there's three of them that came to the board meeting and just told us what their thoughts were, what they'd like to do. And then they asked questions of the board members, do you see a need for this? You know, is there a need for this? Well, a lot of discussion generated from that. They probably had 5 minutes where they talked about what they wanted to do, and due to the people on the board that have contact with a lot of different people, and you know, we have real estate agents on the board, and Juanita Bayless said it perfectly. She said she'd lived in this community longer than she's lived in any community, and yes, she said it's a big benefit to be with other newcomers, and you kind of find you establish friendships, long-term friendships there. Well, now that group, that organization, which is independent of the chamber, is in its formative stages. It's coming back. So that's one example of other people that attend the board meetings. Of course, Ernie Myers attends the board meeting as an ex officio. He represents the IDEA group, and a lot of what he goes on, he can't share with us, but he needs to know what the chamber's involved in.
What is the relationship other than what you just stated between the chamber and the IDEA board? I guess you realize that the IDEA board was originally organized by the Chamber of Commerce.
Right.
Many years ago.
Right, and of course another thing that was organized by the Chamber of Commerce, which is now no longer Chamber of Commerce, is the Glasgow Highland Games. It started out under the chamber, but it grew and developed. The IDEA board, as president, I serve as an ex officio member of the IDEA board, so I could get to attend their meetings. Just probably an honorary thing. Ernie, for example, we in April, a group of the chamber members, there are about 20 of us, traveled to Madisonville on an intercity visit. We chose Madisonville because it was similar to Glasgow in size. It has had enormous economic growth, and Ernie was aware of that. It recently had a wet-dry, well, not recently, 10 years ago, had a wet-dry election. It's downtown. It's a Renaissance city. So we kind of benchmarked that city as one we wanted to visit to find out what they were doing to make their city grow, because it has really grown. I can't give you statistics as far as growth from here to there, but we spent the day there. Now, Ernie was very instrumental in organizing that trip for us to go, and we hope to visit other cities like that to see what's working.
When you attend the IDEA board meeting, are you allowed to make any recommendations?
Oh, no. No, I'm just there.
Why go?
Because I need to know what's going on. I mean, I can't vote. Let's put it that way.
Well,
I can make recommendations if I see something that I think needs.
Well, that's what I want.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I wanted to
Yeah.
know. Now, is there any committee that's doing a white paper on the wet-dry issue?
No, not at this point.
Since you've been on the board, has there ever been a committee that did that?
No.
Is it ever mentioned or brought up?
Oh, it's mentioned a lot.
Why not?
Why not? I have no idea. I don't know. No one has taken on that responsibility to do that.
Well, do you think the board should?
Now that's a hard that's a hard question. Probably should. Probably should. I don't know. Sorry, I don't know how I feel about it. I mean, I cannot speak on behalf of the board whether it would be supported by the board or not by the board. It is an economic development issue, and it's also in this part of the country a very big moral issue, which is it always gets made into a big moral issue. And I have my own personal thoughts about it, but I don't think anybody wants to hear them, and I don't guess I want to share them.
I can understand that, and but you always hear, or you do hear, not only wet, dry issue here, but all over Kentucky, where it is an issue, that it is an economic issue.
Well, sure it is, and that's been proven.
Well, all right. Now, since it's an economic issue, shouldn't the Chamber of Commerce at least get a white paper on it?
Now, should is a word, probably. I can't, okay, yes, they should. They should. And it's really interesting when we went to Madisonville, you know, there's just some issues it's hard to take a stand on, because you don't, and
well, I know, but you've already said you aren't taking a stand on the merger of the schools.
That's very true. And I guess I'm assuming that we would take a pro stand on the alcohol issue based on the economic issue. And that's my assumption. And I shouldn't be making that, because it would be a board decision, it wouldn't be my decision.
If you can do a white paper on one issue that causes controversy, I don't know why you can't do and shouldn't do another issue involving the economics of the city.
I see that. And
well, I don't know why you can't do a white paper on that.
I haven't said we're not going to do it. I don't know that we won't do it. I don't know when we'll do it.
Has anybody ever suggested that it's been done since you've been on
you've been on
the board?
You know, I don't recall. I know it's an issue that always comes up, how much better off Glasgow and Barren County would be if it was wet. That just seems to be the way people feel. But and then the laws changed, this past year about the moist and the wet, dry, and all that stuff changed. And a lot of people talked real favorably, yeah, you know, this is a good way in. But the board did not take any action on it, did not stir up no one took a stand for it. There were the forces that took the stand against it, but the chamber did not get involved in it. And that wasn't necessarily by choice, it just wasn't ever brought up to take a stand one way or the other.
What about zoning? That is
another issue that's talked about all the time.
In the state and the county, and it's certainly another important issue.
It is a very important issue.
Well, are you doing a white paper on that?
No, that has been discussed, though, because zoning always comes up, and it comes up just about in regard to every issue, some kind of zoning commission. Now, I'm not knowledgeable at all about zoning regulations. I don't know what we have in place and what we don't have in place. I just know for sure. I know bits and pieces just about what I've read and what I've heard. But that is also a statewide problem. I mean, we're not the only community suffering from zoning problems, either not having it or having the wrong type zoning regulations. But that is another good issue that we could address. And I don't know, it wouldn't be I think, well, I don't know that either. Zoning is needed, but then when you get the people that the zoning is going to affect,
it affects both the city and the county.
It sure does, but and the people making the regulations can make them, but then you have a group of people that are affected directly by them that disagree. I mean, there has not been any agreement among the citizens of the county and the city on right for certain areas of the county. You're really asking me a question I don't know a whole lot about, other than I know that it's a problem that's always, or an issue that's always discussed. I don't know that it's a problem or if it's just lack of enforcement. I don't know all the legalities involved in determining what zoning regulations are. I know there are some. So I really don't know a whole lot about that issue.
I believe you have an arts committee.
We don't this year. We have had an arts committee in the past. With the establishment of the Glasgow Barren County Foundation, Community Foundation, which happened last year, we're funneling all arts-related, cultural-related, civic, educational-related events through that foundation. Now that foundation is brand new. The one event that it has put on so far is the concert on the square. We've had 2 concerts on the square. The second one was funded by the Community Foundation. This next concert on the square, which will be June 29th, and the Nashville Symphony will play, is funded through donations made to the Community Foundation. And we see a lot of growth and potential for the foundation. It is right now a piece of the chamber. It will not always remain under the chamber umbrella once it gets up and going. But through the foundation, which makes it a tax-exempt organization, we can apply for grants for educational, cultural events for the city. There's just a lot of potential there to use that to benefit the citizens of the community.
When does how often does the executive committee meet?
It meets once a month. It meets the week prior, typically the week prior to the board of directors meeting.
And that's consisted of?
The officers, the secretary, treasurer, executive vice president, past president, president-elect, and president. And we discuss then what topics to put on the agenda for the next board meeting. We share information that we've learned from our members, any issue that we feel like needs to be brought up before the board at the next meeting.
Do you ever have any special meetings?
We have not had special meetings since I've been on the executive committee. But they can be called. I can call a special meeting, or the executive vice president can call a special meeting.
Of course, one of your big events is the Christmas parade.
Right. The Christmas parade is quite a tradition. There is a Christmas parade committee, and it's probably got 50 members on it, and that's not near enough. We can always use more. Probably out of those 50, 20 are the guts of that committee. I mean, there's so many subcommittees off of that committee, like traffic control, judges, organizing the floats. There's just so many logistical concerns regarding the Christmas parade. That committee has already met this year. They're trying to determine who the Grand Marshal will be, and it will be held the first Saturday in December, as it has been in years past. There have been improvements made to that committee throughout the years. For instance, and not to offend any horse owners, but not having horses in front of certain, have the horses at the back, not letting the, I don't even know what they're called, the little four-wheeled go-karts thing. They got out of hand one year because they were flipping up and around in the crowd and we were afraid that someone was going to be injured. Limiting units to, every unit's supposed to be lighted, sometimes they're not. It's a big, big event, and hats off to the Christmas Parade Committee they really work. They may not work the first half of the year, but the second half of the year they are working. And then the day of the parade, it goes from daylight to dark. But it's a beautiful parade. It's a nighttime parade, and it's aired on our local TV stations. It's a beautiful parade.
What does the chamber think it gets out of that parade?
Oh, community involvement. You get people from all around coming to the parade.
I think that is one of the best things that the Chamber of Commerce does. And I shouldn't be expressing my personal opinion, but the reason is it is the one thing you do that gets the county, the whole county, and the whole city involved.
That's correct. And
gets them involved in a united way.
It is a tremendous success. There's no entry fee. There's a deadline for registration. We have corporate sponsors and individual sponsors who donate money to host the parade, and it is one of the best events that the chamber does for the community, community wide, like you said.
Yeah,
And, you know,
It's
when
a
you're in the
ye-
parade and you see all these thousands and thousands of people lining the streets, and even last year's snowstorm, as I was driving down the road, my 15-year-old son threw a snowball and hit me right in the side of the face, and he thought that was real cute. The way it was blowing in anyway.
He would. What's your staff do?
The chamber staff. Well, Carla Bell is our receptionist, and she answers all phone calls. She greets and meets people as they come through the door. And then for about the past 4 years, we've kept records of how many, when phone calls are made, what are they calling about? Are they calling for information, relocation information, business development information, tourism information? We keep track of that on a monthly basis of what calls, what calls are related to, what visitors are, why are they coming in. They sign in a sheet and they tell us why they're coming in. And we went to a 3-staff Chamber of Commerce, and now we have 4 full-time people on staff. We moved from the location on 30 at West Main Street, where the New Farmers Bank is, or area bank is now, to the New Farmers National Bank building upstairs level in '97. And we resided up there for 3 years, and then in February of last year we moved to the downstairs location of the old New Farmers National Bank building.
What about your executive vice president?
What does he do, or what?
Yes.
Oh, he is the coordinator. He of course directs the staff there. He visits with new members. He attends a lot of meetings outside of just the regular chamber meetings. He travels to Frankfurt on behalf of the chamber. He's involved in the Kentucky Chamber, and he's also a member of the Kentucky League of Cities. He serves as treasurer of the Tourism Commission. He serves as treasurer of the Highland Games Board. And I probably could keep up with him as far as that position's real time consuming. And our staff does a good job of keeping it all organized. Areas of improvement in anybody's
Other than
job
administrative duties, what does he do?
That's about what he does. I mean, that is his job. That is his job description.
I think our time's about up, Ann. I really appreciate your being here. I think we've had a good discussion about the Chamber of Commerce. You're a good president, as you are president. And thank you again for coming.
Well, thank you for inviting me.